They're known by many names all over the culture. Jack Barringer, a researcher in this very subject, who wrote a book called Past Shock, he says that there's at least 30,000 texts. And that's only the texts that are left after all the burnings and purgings. There's still in existence at least 30,000 texts talking about this visitation. And every single culture in the world, almost bar none, revealed them. The Nephilim, the Anakim, the giants, the Titans. The Indians know them as the Nagas. The Irish knew them as the Nadreds, which is a word that means serpent. And more recently, they're known as the Brotherhood of the Snake or the Serpent People. And we'll explain that why, because there's been a lot of disinformation about that from certain people within the research community. We'll clear that one up today, too. The word Nephilim, actually, which is the most common name for these individuals, the etymology of Nephilim is uncertain, but the following explanations have been advanced. First, it may derive from nifal, which is a verb, from the verb to be extraordinary, or the extraordinary men. It may derive from the verb en-napal, which means the fallen ones from heaven. Supernatural beings, you see, although it could mean morally fallen men. Take your pick. The International Standard Bible Encyclopedia defines it as meaning unnaturally begotten men, bastards, from nepel, abortion or miscarriage. Most modern versions of the Bible have left the word untranslated. The word also may come from nephel, which means bad or strange birth, as I said, or from kenephilim, which means the serpents. Now, these so-called fallen angels were extremely scientifically advanced humanoid beings who came to Earth after being forced to exit their own planet or planets. They had been expunged by opposition forces and pursued across the galaxy into our solar system. And some scientists now are thinking that the sun, in the same way that even Frank Herbert was talking about bending space, and using even the sun as an event horizon. The concept is now coming into science through individuals like Nazim Haramein that the sun is even a black hole by which you can fly between the galaxies. It's not my forte, but I just want to put that out there. So they arrived into our space, into our solar system. Upon arrival, they set up an unmanned makeshift decoy center on the planet Tiamat, which once existed between Mars and Jupiter, but they actually took refuge on our Earth here, in many of its underground caverns. Tiamat was a vast ocean planet in our solar system, known from antiquity as the second sun. It was 15 times larger than our Earth, and it was an entire ocean planet. An entirely ocean planet. It wasn't a sun, but its atmosphere was so resplendent that the actual sun's rays, when shining on Tiamat, made it appear to people on Earth that it was a sun. And it was known as the second sun from antiquity. If you think that's kind of odd, just remember that Venus is like the second or third brightest orb in the sky and actually casts a shadow on our Earth on a moonless night. And Allen and Dallaire, in their book Cataclysm, these are top scientists from Oxford and Cambridge. I quote them a lot in the Atlantis book, because the science is in, by the way. This is not just some hokomania. The science is in for every single thing that you're hearing today. If we elevate the moon to planetary status, they say, as the Sumerians appear to have done, then we have a total of 10 planets orbiting the sun. Now, if you're into Zecharia Sitchin, this is all old news to you. On this basis, one planet is currently still missing from the earlier Sumerian total. Could there really have been another planet known to the Sumerians, as yet unknown to us or lost since their day? Well, wait a minute, Tiamat ain't there. Well, we do know what lies between Mars and Jupiter is the asteroid belt, right? That's right. Tiamat is not there today because it was destroyed by those pursuers of the Nephilim. This is what distinguishes my findings from Sitchin and from Velikovsky and others who research this field. Wonderful researchers, but I have found out something else, and that is that it was by humanoid. It wasn't some careering comet charging through our solar system. It was actually a humanoid intervention, the destruction of a planet 15 times larger than the Earth, made up entirely of oceans. Your enemy, you must think your enemy is pretty bad if you do that, right? But these guys were so convinced that the Nephilim were on Tiamat, they utterly obliterated, causing the almost unimaginable, magnetic storms and chaos in our universe. That is the event that caused the first flood. Tiamat's waters literally pouring down. And by the way, all the records talk about that. It's not waters coming up from below, it's waters raining down on you from the sky. Well, hell yeah. Do you know, in fact, as Allen and Dallaire have proven, that pre the deluge, pre the flood, we only had one ocean on this planet, and it was called the Miocene Ocean, and the remnants of the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, if you're from Russia or Slovakia or from Estonia and from those Baltic lands, you'll know this, that the Caspian and the Black Sea have an interesting mythology. They're the remnants of the only ocean that we had before the deluge. All that Pacific and Atlantic and Indian Ocean, they're new. They just moved in. They're squatters. In the Babylonian Enuma Elish, we read about it. It says, go and cut off Tiamat's life, and let the winds convey her blood to the secret places. Flowery language, granted. Mythological language, granted. But there it is. Go and cut off Tiamat's life, let the winds convey her blood to the secret places. One of the greatest documents that helps to reveal the whole history of the Nephilim is called the Book of Enoch. It should have been in the Bible, but it didn't get there. And behold, a star fell from heaven, it says, and the children of the earth began to tremble and quake before them and to flee from them. And again I saw how they began to gore each other and to devour each other, and the earth began to cry aloud. Right? Just like Revelation says, a star fell from heaven. Now the Nephilim were not on Tiamat, as I said. They had descended to earth to hide. After the deluge, they emerged and set up their dummy base. Sorry, not their dummy base, but their actual base, known as Atlantis, on the vast continent of Appalachia. Appalachia is now beneath the waters, but it used to be England and Ireland, part of Scandinavia, the Arctic, Greenland and Iceland. You could walk the whole way. Atlantis is not a continent, like it's been told over and over again erroneously. Atlantis was on a continent. All right? You can go to Delhi and see beautiful English buildings, that the British troops and the British government built in all of their empire, but you wouldn't say that Delhi is London. Right? London's in England. So just because you you turn over a stone somewhere, like lots of researchers do, and they think, I found Atlantis. Every 2 years you hear somebody's found Atlantis. Atlantis was an empire. You can have outposts and bastions in all the corners of the world, but don't then run up for your own aggrandizement and say, I found Atlantis. Be specific. From there, they set about making contact with the earth's indigenous inhabitants. The books of the old world tell us about it. The Bible, Genesis says, the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. Okay, so they even tried to contact, for some reason, best known to themselves, they were interested in the earth women, only joking. And they tried to get involved with them, as you would. Anyway, the Gnostic texts tell us more about it. They say, now come, let us seize, I like that word, seize. Let us seize her, and let us cast our seed on her, so that then she is polluted, she will not be able to ascend to her light. But those whom she will beget will serve us.